Welcome, one and all, to Tastefully Nerd Sports,
the show where we talk about the sporty side of nerds
and the nerdy side of sports. They call me Green,
and they call me Gonzo.
We call this episode
the Mandalabamalorian.
Game on. Welcome back, everyone, to Tastefully Nerd Sports. This is season 1.5. As you can tell, we're sort of mixing up the formula a little bit. You know, growing pains, and eventually we end up with growing gains. I think that's the expression.
Gains!
Yep. So instead of necessarily nerding out about something, we're going to just everyone's going to bring a topic or two for consideration. We will have ourselves a little discussion, and then we'll move on to the fantasy sport, in this case fantasy football goodness that you guys come for. But first, Gonzo, what would you like to talk about today?
I'm going to talk about the Mandalorian. Disney Plus just came out, and with it, the new Star Wars series, The Mandalorian. Everyone's been real excited for that. I've checked it out. It's on about to be episode 3. Comes out later this week. But I gotta say, I really like it. I really dig it. It's slow going, it's slow starting, but I really like how, the story is set up, and I think it's going to be pretty great. It's set after Return of the Jedi, but before The Force Awakens.
Yeah, here's the interim period.
Yes, it's in, kind of an interim period, but it's more close to Return of the Jedi, as I've learned through research.
Yeah, it's closer to Return,
yeah,
less so to Force.
Yes. I really like it a lot just because it has, a pretty wide-reaching, cameo cast. There's Carl Weathers, who's Apollo Creed, and,
with the manliest handshake in the world.
Yep, exactly. The person who plays the actual Mandalorian, Pedro Pascal, I really enjoyed his work in Game of Thrones as Oberyn Martell, one of my favorite characters, and then he also played in Kingsman, The Golden Circle. He was in that as well. And then I know Bill Burr is going to be in it later, and also, didn't realize, but Nick Nolte was one of the voices in one of the characters in setup. It was kind of cool. But yeah, it's really cool. I like the setup. I think it's going to be cool where it goes, and I want to see where it's going to, be in the continuity of everything.
Yeah, I've heard in tone. I haven't seen it yet. I have yet to sign up for Disney Plus. I'm sure eventually I'll join our Disney overlords.
Yep.
I hear in tone this is the project they've done that's actually come the closest to the original trilogy yet.
Yes. In overall, kind of theme and tone, yeah. Definitely, I would say that. Because, I think, with the new, the new trilogies, there was a little bit more, hype for action versus, story.
They are definitely 2019 or not. They're definitely 2016, 2018 films in the way they're shot.
Yeah.
Obviously, two Star Wars fans who have been fans for a long time, Force Awakens was a soft reboot of A New Hope. Its plot matched it too closely for comfort, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But it didn't quite pull off the vibe.
Yeah.
And I've heard good things about this. One concern is, I guess it's only 8 episodes.
I believe, 8 episodes.
And so far,
week by week.
No episode's been longer than 40 minutes.
Yes. That was one of my concerns. The first episode was kind of 40-ish minutes, 42, I want to say, and then the second episode was 36, maybe a little bit longer than that.
Other streaming services, slightly odd episode times.
Yeah. Other streaming services, they usually do 44 or 22-minute episodes.
TV with commercials is 22 and 44.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix tends to do things a little bit different. Yeah. When they have an hour-long show, it's usually an hour. Yeah. When they have a 30-minute show, it's usually 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's not always true.
Yeah.
Like I talked about last week about BoJack Horseman, most episodes are 30 minutes, but a few are only 28.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of
one
variation.
One or two are like 32 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little variation. They're not as beholden to those strict timestamps.
Yeah.
Well, I recommend it?
Definitely recommend it. I am already like completely into it. After the first episode, you'll be completely drawn to it, I believe, especially with its.
The trailers looked awesome.
Yes,
I was really looking forward to that. I'm ambivalent about Rise of Skywalker. It's one of those things I'm going to watch eventually, if only for the sake of being able to talk about it on this show. But I'm one of the people who was not a big fan of Last Jedi. I was one of those people who wasn't a huge fan of Force Awakens. I really like Rogue One, but I liked it as a film, but it's also kind of pointless in that respect. So Disney Star Wars has left me largely cold. I should also clarify, I'm not a huge fan of the prequel trilogy either. So when it comes to Star Wars, like I love the universe. I love playing around in that universe. I like a lot of the extended universe stuff, like the comic books and novels and video games. Very erratic in quality, but some of them are very good. And I really like the original trilogy. So I guess I'm a Star Wars fan, and that I'm a fan of the universe. But when it actually comes to
the Star Wars
movie itself, I guess I'm not really a huge Star Wars fan. Because I like 3 of them, and I half like Revenge of the Sith, and I 3/4 like Rogue One, and I like 1/4 like Awakens and Last Jedi. So between all of that, I guess you could splice together one weird movie.
All right.
Like it. So myself, I don't have any particularly big stories along the nerding spectrum. I watched the first episode of Green Eggs and Ham with my wife. It's a kids show.
I've heard good things about that from my parent friends.
Yeah, no, I liked it. Baby Green is too young for TV right now, so we're just kind of watching it as fans of animation. I enjoyed the first episode. We will talk about that more because Lady Green binged the whole thing. So we will bring her on as a special guest probably for next episode and talk more about that. I know I've been doing a lot of Magic the Gathering lately. I had touched on that last episode. But we're on a bit of a time crunch today, so that's a longer piece also. Any sport-related news for you? I know you're an Alabama fan.
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say I'm an Alabama fan. I'm an Alabama fan in solidarity with another friend of mine who is a diehard Alabama fan.
He is.
Yes.
A friend of the show. Is this friend of the show from Alabama?
His family is. His family is long from Alabama, so he's always rooted for Alabama. And in turn, I will root for them as well. But personally, I just love college football. I love the competition of it. But yes, to say I was rooting for Alabama over LSU. And they did lose. I mean, they pulled it back, but it's kind of hard, when you go down 33-0 in like the first half. So, they dug themselves back, 46-41, but couldn't quite do it. And then now Alabama is now knocked out of the top 4, which is kind of bad. Well, pretty bad. Have a not chance to make the BCS championship.
I know, right? This is
which would be weird.
This is a behemoth falling from the top. This is Goliath getting slayed by a David.
Yes, and even though they won their last game against Michigan State, I think it was. Or...
They did win their last game. But they lost to Tua Tagliova.
Yes, they lost
to a hip injury.
They lost their star quarterback, and he is not going to play for the rest of the season.
Yep, out for the remainder of the season. He is going to be draft eligible, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So a lot of people say this is going to really tank his draft stock. Do you think there's a chance he comes back to Alabama to try and rehabilitate his hip, show he can still play, and maybe try to get that another crack at a championship?
I mean, I believe there's a chance, but there's also, what are circumstances going to hold out for him? If he does still have a certain amount of draft stock, he might.
You hear he's going at least top 3 rounds. That's because even round 3, you start a 3rd round pick starts at $1 million.
Yeah, and he still has the talent to do all he wants is just got to see, how his injury is going to affect him and, whether teams will be willing to take him.
Yeah, hip injuries are very serious.
Yeah. And, you can't really come back from that as easily. It takes some time, working yourself back, versus other injuries, especially with a quarterback. The hip is very vital. Yeah,
man.
So.
Yeah, we don't talk college sports that much here. We're probably going to change that in future, work it in a little more. But this is a big revelation. And
yeah.
I was watching the LSU game at work with you, and so I heard you cheering Alabama on and lamenting their fall in real time. So I was like, I feel like this is something I should ask about.
Yeah. I was there rooting the whole way, but the whole time couldn't pull it out.
No.
All right, time for some local flavor. How's that desert heat treating you in Arizona?
It's making me thirsty. Good thing I got a water.
All right.
That was a cool drink of water. Just like Jimmy Garoppolo thinks he's a cool drink of water. Calling people baby. Flirting with the sideline reporters. The arrogance. No, but for real though. Last time Arizona and the 49ers met, they remained undefeated. And he was asked how it felt. He said it felt great, baby. They were since lost. We came into town this time. Chance to give them a 2-game losing streak for the first time all season. Fortunately, we just extended our losing streak instead. You can always hang your head high when you hung tough the whole game with the NFC's best team, arguably the best team in all of the NFL, and it took down to the wire play for them to pull off the victory. Kyler Murray is really thriving after playing half a season in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They look legit on the O. Vance Joseph's defense still can't get a big stop. Patrick Pearson, this is his 3rd week back now from suspension.
Yeah.
And he's looked really... he's looked rusty. Let's just say he's looked very rusty. You could tell he missed all that time. Last week, we lost to Bruce Arians, former Cardinal coach, to his pretty bad Buccaneers squad.
Yeah.
And they won by field goal. And they only were in field goal range because of a false start on Patrick Pearson against the field goal unit. Because they actually took the first kick. It was a 50-some yarder. They missed it. Going to go to OT. But Pat Pete had a false start. They get to move up 5 more feet. Still field goal. They're not first down territory, but they nail it.
Yep.
Win on the last second.
Can't be having those penalties.
Yep. This week he had some costly PI penalties that let them advance the ball, and I don't know, man. I think the rumors that we should have traded him in the offseason were correct, or rather the suggestions. There were rumors we were going to trade him last year, and I don't know if he's actually at the end of the season going to be playing in Arizona again. I think we might try to see. He's got 2 years left on his deal. If he can end the season strong, we could probably get some high draft picks out of him.
Yeah, might be able to shop him a little bit.
On the other hand, if he ends the season strong, we might just be like, hey, stick around. But I don't know. Vance Joseph's defense. I mean, I guess before he was a head coach in Denver, he did well as a D coordinator, but it's how much of that was just the sheer amount of talent that squad had.
Yeah.
Because we're a pretty mediocre talent-wise, but we shouldn't be one of the worst defensive teams in the league. We've got more than that.
Yeah.
Either way, it was a blow-for-blow game. There were 5, 6, 7 total lead changes in the game. So anytime you got 7 lead changes, you know you're in for an exciting battle.
It's a fun game.
We were up by 6 for I think the majority of the 3rd quarter, but they got a late touchdown. We got the ball back with less than a minute to go. Some shenanigans resulted in a lateral pass.
Yep.
And they forced a fumble, ran it back in to run the score up to 26-36. But it was a much closer game than that final score looked like. Phoenix Suns 7-5. we're currently 7th in the West, so if we keep winning, we could be back in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, which would be really exciting. We've been playing without DeAndre Ayton, our former number 1 overall pick, because he's been suspended, much like Pat P was, so something about Arizona players getting suspended recently. Not a big fan of. But we lost to, again, the NBA best Boston Celtics in a match that was pretty close.
Yeah.
93-85, I believe, is the final score. And they have the league's best defense. And again, this is a new coach, new to us anyways, Monty Williams. This is Ricky Rubio's first season with us, Aaron Baines' first season with us. So we've got a lot of people new to the squad.
But Ricky Rubio has been playing a lot better lately, as I've seen.
Yeah, no, he's always been an excellent ball handler and an above-average defender. And he was forced to learn to shoot somewhat when he was in Utah. And so although he's still not great, he is league average shooter now, which was a huge upgrade for him. And we've been benefiting from that as well.
Yeah.
Coyotes beat the Caps recently, so there's that.
Did see that.
Yeah, the overtime game, right?
Yes. It was a shootout, I believe.
A shootout, yep. Yeah, there it is. So, speaking of shootouts, have you been watching a lot of Caps lately?
I haven't gotten a chance to watch the past couple of games. I believe the last actual game I caught was their crushing loss to the Canadiens, which is a couple of games ago, and then I watched the Golden Knights game as well, which was a few games before that. But I've been checking them out here and there. They look good when they want to look good, and then sometimes they have their flops.
Yeah, I mean it's not all bad though. They have I'm pretty sure they're first in the Metropolitan Division.
Yes.
They have the fewest losses in the NFL. The NHL. I don't think they have the most wins because they have a number of ties in there, but they have the fewest losses, which is good because the defense has never been the strong point except for the one year you won the Stanley Cup. It's never been a strong point in the team, so they're holding in pretty well. I've caught two of the 3 most recent games. I actually ironically missed the Coyotes game, even though I made a point to watch it. I just I spent the night with baby and Lady Green. But all 3 of their games the last 3 games, including the 2 I caught, have gone into shootouts.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, they're not winning in regular season, and I think all that extra ice time is going to catch up because they are not a young team.
No.
Yeah. So last bit of local flavor. I hear the Redskins got cooked.
Very much so. I haven't been able to watch many Redskins games either, but I mean, there's really not much to miss. They lost their last game.
You let Sam Darnold look. No, they weren't shut out. They got 17 points. Oh. You let Sam Darnold look like an All-Pro.
Yeah, which he's not yet an All-Pro.
And you continued. What was it? 16 quarters without scoring. No, it's not that long. Without scoring a touchdown. Yeah.
Until 16 quarters.
16 quarters without scoring a touchdown.
And then we finally got our first touchdown in 16 quarters.
Dwayne Haskins got his first touchdown throw.
Yep.
He also had a meltdown on the sideline where he was talking to his lineman. I guess meltdown's not fair, but he was like, "What do I need to do to help you?"
Yeah.
And it was obvious like he's already lost that line. I don't know, man. You guys need to fire Bruce Allen. He needs to get out of there right away.
Yeah.
Snyder needs to sell a team.
A whole lot of things need to change, and starting with management, Dan Snyder definitely. I mean, just go ahead and sell the team and just let us get a new start.
Yeah, he's got so much bad karma about him. But you know what? That's a story for another time.
Yep.
Redskins got embarrassed to the Jets. Cards hung tough with the Niners. And Coyotes beat the Caps. Phoenix lost a close one. And the Wizards have been scoring 1 billion points, but giving up 1,000,000,001.
Yep.
And I think that sums it up. Now it's time to sum up fantasy football weekend reactions. So, how do you do in the league we are in?
Well, in the league, I took a loss this week. I didn't get to finish tinkering with my team, and in hindsight, I would have changed something. I would have put in Todd Gurley and taken out Sammy Watkins, and taken him out of my flex. So Todd Gurley had a 20-point game this week, and Sammy Watkins just hasn't been producing as of late. And I only kept him in because I put him...
Tyreek Hill's back.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's back. And I mean, even before that, he had like 1 or 2 good games, and the rest were just average. So, yeah, I didn't mean to leave Sammy Watkins in. It ultimately led to my loss because I lost by like 3 points.
One of those close nail biters.
Yeah.
I had a lot of those last season.
Yeah. And ultimately, right now, I am out of the playoffs, but I do have a good chance to get back in because our bottom 3, including yourself, in those playoffs are like 5 and 6. So
yeah. There was normally a handful of teams kind of come out to a clear winner in these in our league, and there's a lot of jostling in the middle. But the jostling in the middle is usually like 7-3, 6-4 teams, things like that. But this year, a lot of 5 and 6.
Yeah,
so we're like the Eastern Conference of the NBA. A lot of sub 500 teams battling it out.
Yeah, there's the 2 top who are both like 8-3 and like 7-4, and then the bottom like 2 who are, I believe, like 3-8 right now, and all of us in the middle just kind of jostling around, and there's like 1 6-5 player, I believe. But depending on how these last 2 weeks go, there could be a lot of change. I know right now I'm playing the number 3 or number 4, and if I beat him, I will move up. And depending on whether or not you win this week, which you did beat, you did beat our number 1 this week.
I did, yeah. I upset the top seed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's another gentleman named Alex.
Yep.
We could have invited him to the
Mr.
podcast
Conway.
and have 3 Alexes. Friend of the show. But that'd be just too many Alexes in one space.
Yep.
No, so
we have enough of those.
We have a running rivalry. I managed to sabotage this fantasy season pretty much every year. The very first year, I didn't make the playoffs, right? But I knocked him out also at the very end, even though I had a better score. And then since then, I've been on a long winning streak, beating him both in the regular season and knocking him out of the playoffs every year. Last year, it changed. I don't know if he made playoffs last year, so I don't know about that. But he didn't. He had one of the worst records, but he beat me in the regular season. And I was like, well, you know what? You're not going to make the playoffs this year. You're not going to get the chance to win your money back. But you beat me for the first time in the league's history. And this year, he beat me again earlier in the year. And I was like, oh no, I cannot have a losing streak. So we played each other twice this year, and I pulled off a miraculous upset, and all is right with the world. And I pulled it off while David Johnson, who I don't know how far in the doghouse he is, but apparently he's just unusable now, got me big fat 0 points for the second week in a row. At this point, I might just keep starting him because he seems to be a good luck charm because I'm winning all my matches where he doesn't do anything.
I don't know how you're managing to do that, but good on you.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Well, let's bring it to our segment called Start, Sit, Swap, where every week we recommend you start a player who gets at least 15 ESPN PPR points. We recommend you sit a player that is projected to get 10, but we feel they're not going to. And we recommend you swap in a player. That player has to be eligible to swap in the same spot your sit does, and we think that person, who is likely not projected for 10 points, will get 10 or more points. And then we each get a point in the Start, Sit, Swap game for each recommendation we get correct. So, how did yours turn out?
Not well at all. Leonard Fournette, he had a pretty decent game. He didn't have the game he usually has, but he got 12.7 points, not quite enough for my start value is a 15, so he did not get me a point. And then I'm still kind of upset about this. The fact that Odell Beckham Jr. got exactly 10 points. Exactly 10 points, which gets me out of my point range for my sit. And then Juju, for my swap, he went out early in the game with a concussion, I believe. And yeah, he only got me 4 points, so I did not get a point for anything this week.
That's really unfortunate.
It was not a good week for me.
So, we entered this week tied 3-3 in the start-sit swap game. I am now taking a commanding 2-point lead to go up 5-3 because I said to start Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the start is the only position where it doesn't matter what they project. We can recommend to start, even if they are projected to score at least 15 points. We're pretty confident in that person. It's kind of the gimme point. The only rule is you can't pick the same player to start twice in one season.
Yeah.
So I yet to recommend Jimmy G. I actually don't know if he's projected for 15 or not in ESPN, but I was like, he's going to get some. Our defense is not great. And he got 29 points. So, oof.
Yeah.
I said to sit Alshon Jeffrey. Now, you're not allowed to sit a player. He was ruled out. That you know is ruled out before the time of recording. But at the time of recording, he was questionable, doubtful. So he did end up sitting out against the Patriots. So he got 0 points. So I will get 1 point for that.
That's luck.
It is luck.
Luck.
It is luck. But I said the swap in David Johnson because he was projected for 9 points. I said this is his comeback week. This is a revenge week. This is the week he proves to the coach and the fans alike that he still got something in the tank. And he didn't get a snap as far as I could tell.
Yep.
And he definitely didn't get any points. So
Definitely not.
Getting 2 points for the week, but that's a lot better than last week where I got big fat zeros across the board.
Yep, that's me this week. Big fat zeros across the board.
Yep. All right. Well, that's it for our first episode of season 1.5. Join us later in the week. Projected release date of Thursday for our preview of the weekend's action. This was our summary of last weekend's action. Except for the fact that I forgot to get to the big story that I wanted to share, which was the Browns and Steelers brawl for it all. But I'm out of time. I gotta get to work. So that bit of reaction will be in the next episode. But other than that,
we have a lot to talk about that. Oh, yeah.
Reaction phase is over. Proactive phase begins later in the week. I've been Alex Green. You can follow me at Twitter at Tastefully Nerd.
I've been Gonzo, and you can follow me on Twitter at They Call Me Malu, Maluu.
You can follow the show at Facebook at Tastefully Nerd. And
all right, game off.
Game off.